the barony of Erris in the northwest corner of County Mayo, Ireland. The wild Atlantic Way rolls across green hills between two bays that squeeze the countryside until it forms a tangible neck for the Mullet Peninsula, jutting its forehead defiantly into the Atlantic Ocean.
It's on the west coast of Ireland. It's just on the periphery of the Atlantic Ocean.
So we're quite out there, we're almost like an island nature. Like the peninsula itself, which is part of the area, is virtually an island. It's just joined to the mainland by a bridge.
The history of the Mullet Peninsula goes way, way, way back. It goes way back beyond Christianity. It wasn't known as the Mullet then. It would be known as Nwitted because there was no English equivalent. Muithead, which means the mute head. It was a headland that stretched out into the sea.
Protected by the Mullet Peninsula's mulehead shape from the North Atlantic, the town of Belmullet is situated below the headland between Blacksod Bay and Broadhaven Bay. A mere few blocks apart at the top of the neck, where a bridge connects Belmullet to the headland, water from the bays converge at the town to lap at its shores.
If you want scenery, it's unbelievable.
Within the shelter of Blacksod Bay, we have two blue flag beaches and then a number of green coast beaches, which means the water quality is really good.
And while the echo of ocean surf can sometimes be heard between the bays on Lower Barrack Street, whenever the door to McDonnell's bar is open, music tolls up through town. Songs echo off the stone faces of packed row buildings, the irresistible lilt a note of invitation into the public house, where Publican and Undertaker Padraig Conroy welcomes patrons in with a tune and serves up a proper pint.
This is McDonnell's bar, nicknamed as the lobster pot. It's like the lobster when he goes into the pot. It's easy going in, but it's not easy coming out.
Welcome to the lobster pot. I liked your jerseys. How are you, young fella?
You're in a pub that's in existence since the 1800s, but it would be in our family for the last 80 years. My grandmother came to Belmullet. Her name was Elizabeth Lindsay, and she came from the townland of Crossmolina. And she came here in 1928. Now, she had a few years on my grandfather, Michael, who was also a Crossmolina man. He came here in 1933.
My father's family on his mother's side came from Blacksod, and they would have exported lorry loads of crayfish, lobster, winkles, and they would have brought them to Cork.
But they married in 1940 and they purchased the building the year they married. She bought the building in 1940 for £180 and she stocked it for £26. And she bought it off a family called the Burnses, who originated from East Galway. You come in the door, it's an old pub, it's kind of narrow at the front, and then you walk through the bar and it's a stone floor which we purchased out of a workhouse in the famine times in Belfast. The tables are out of spinning wheels from the old days, the Singer spinning wheels, and the counter is there since the day my grandmother opened. They had what we call at the time a shebeen, but they also had a shop at the front of the bar, and then at the back they all sold bottled ale and bottled stout, but they didn't have any taps or firkins at the time that you'd be drinking pints of Guinness. And there was a little snug then out at the back, so if the man came in, joined his friends, the lady, it wasn't ladylike for a woman to sit at the counter, so they used to sit in the snug with other ladies, and they might have a sherry if they were lucky.
This bygone practice that made pubs almost exclusively the domain of men has since disappeared. Regardless of where a patron sat, in McDonald's bar, Elizabeth always made visitors feel welcome.
She did a great old business, and she had a great relationship with the people, and she loved them and they loved her. She was in one day sitting in the corner of her bar, and a fisherman came in, and his name was Michael Lavelle, but they used to call him the Scrubber. He was a man on deck. So he sat in the bar and he had his pint, and she said, "Johnny, were you far out today in the Atlantic Ocean?" He said, "Mrs. McDonald, I was so far out," he said, "I could hear the dogs barking in New York."
McDonald's bar is probably one of the best bars in the world, really, I'd say, not just the area or not just Mayo.
Born and raised in Belmullet, Agatha Hurst is a local guide and an active member of numerous community organisations.
It's been family run. This is the third, Padraig now is the third generation of family in it.
We're exceptionally proud of where we came from. I'm exceptionally proud of the people who gave me what I have. My grandparents were here. My mother was reared here, Mary, who I'm very close to and I love very much, my mother.
Growing up in the bar was it was like Grand Central Station in New York.
We were in a public house, lived overhead.
There was 3 generations in a 5-bedroomed apartment.
The only day we would have to ourselves was the old feast. It was Good Friday, we closed the pub. Then you'd have to have it painted and tidied up. So that wasn't really a day off. But Christmas Day was the only day we had free in the whole year. And then the parish priest, my grandmother and grandfather made one mistake. They invited him for dinner that day, so we still hadn't it off. But my grandfather used to throw a few brandies into him and he'd be gone home early.
In addition to the bar, their grandfather Michael, who had remained in his job while Elizabeth ran the pub, decided to start a mortuary, and so McDonnell's funeral directors began in 1971. At that time, there was no separate facility for the second business.
So my grandfather had an office just behind the bar where he would meet families to do funeral arrangements. We had a store of coffins at the back of the house, above where the bottle store was in the bar, so the business was done there.
Once upon a time, the pub might have been your grocer, your hardware store, even your smithy, among other things. During the famine in the mid-1800s, a law was passed called the Coroner's Act of 1846, decreeing that the cold cellars of pubs be used to store bodies. So it wasn't unusual for publicans to combine undertaking with their normal day-to-day business. Pat Murphy is a long-time local historian dedicated to the preservation of the Irish language and the inspiration of its oral traditions.
In the old days, anyone who had a business usually had 2 or 3 other somethings going at the same time. That was the Irish way of life.
If you go to the majority of rural towns, you'll find a McDonald's pub almost in every town, something like it, an old-fashioned pub. And oftentimes there'll be funeral directors also.
Padraig has been just phenomenal. Everybody in the area would sing his praises. He's just, he's so compassionate, he's so kind, he's so professional, he's so understanding. And Paddy, his dad, Lord rest him, before him as well, just unbelievable.
I'm exceptionally proud of the people who gave me what I have, but most of all, and my family. My parents, my dad passed away 18 months ago. Paddy Conroy, he was a local headmaster in the local school. He was very much part of this pub, never drank in his life, but a good man to throw out an old pint.
Paddy was the principal in the secondary school and Mary was teaching in the primary school, and then Sean, Pádraig's brother, is a teacher as well. So I suppose they kind of had every angle covered between having a couple of drinks, getting your education, and then when it's time to pass on to the next world, they helped you on your journey there.
In 1992, the family decided to move the funeral business out of the bar, and soon Sean and Padraig were apprenticing in the business, one in Dublin, the other in Cork.
Over 50 years ago, my grandfather established the business, and since it passed on to my father, and then we're the next generation, and we're at it for the past 30 to 40 years.
Big one.
Padraig does a lot of the management of families, goes out, meets families, he also goes out on the ground to meet different people, priests, and organises churches.
It's all about being there for people, the same as people have been here for us.
It can be just terrible, and there are times when it hurts, but you just try to be as professional as you can be. You be passionate about what you do, and you just bring the family through that chapter in their lives.
When I put on my funeral attire, that's when you see a very serious side to me. And I would like always to treat people that are bereaved the same as I would like my own family to be treated if we have a bereavement. And that's the most important thing.
When you're leaving a cemetery or a crematorium and the family turns to you and just say, "Thank you so much. You took us through such a difficult journey," and you really do get satisfaction out of that.
Sometimes people would go for a kind of a banquet after they lay their deceased to rest, and then they might come in here the night and have a few drinks here to finish it off. We discuss the person that has passed.
They would often have fun and jokes, and old yarns were told in the pub, and there was a bond and a trust. And if that trust is there, I'm sure they'll trust you on their final chapter.
Around the same time as the mortuary found its own home, Lizzie decided it might be time to get out of the bar business.
My grandmother was about to close the bar down because things had got very dried up. But she also asked me if I was interested in returning to take the business over.
Things might have gone differently, but for a family tragedy. While Paddy and Mary pursued teaching as a profession, Mary's brother Gusty seemed a natural fit in the bar.
My mam's only sibling and their only son, and tragically he got drowned in 1966 off the rocks in Anna. And that was a terrible tragedy at the time. It left a big void in my grandparents' lives and my mother's. Gusty. But that would be Augustine, if you go with the saints and scholars. But I don't know was he a saint, but he was a scholar. He was a qualified teacher.
Eventually, the business of the McDonnell's funeral directors also fell to the brothers, though one was teaching and the other running the bar. However, it's not something they endeavour alone.
We both know our roles, and Gusty and Kevin know their roles in the business as well.
Kevin and Gusty McDonald is the same name as my uncle, and they've been the lads that have supported us, our firm over the last 20 years.
So as a team, we work very well.
As sombre and serious as the funeral business can be, Padraig manages to turn the page where the bar is concerned.
How could I describe him? Jeez, you caught me on that. Well, he's larger than life character, He's he's the type of guy that, when he's behind the bar, he's a different character than when he is up here.
There's no circus without a clown. So you're looking at the clown here.
He enjoys life to the full, and he embraces it.
Because when God calls someone, that's it. When God calls somebody, that's when you're called yourself. And otherwise, you keep pulling pints and you do your business here, and that's the way life is in rural Ireland, in Belmullet. You're in the parish of Belmullet, my own parish, that I'm very proud of.
Belmullet's a very vibrant town.
We're fortunate enough to have a town like Belmullet where all the people meet, and it's a good epicentre for the whole area, you know.
In the 1600s, King Charles II was said to have paid off a debt to Robert Vyner, a goldsmith in London, by giving him the parish of Kilmore Erris. Vyner soon sold the land, and in 1695 Arthur Shane began to develop the area that would become Belmullet.
So I suppose the town itself is almost 200 years old. It was established in 1724. We have a canal in the town that joins Blacksod Bay to Broadhaven Bay, and that is known as Shane's Cut. So it was originally dug out in the early 1700s to allow for more safe passage between the two bays.
That was hand dug and man-made, and the men who built the walls walked all the way from Bangor and Corrick, or Bellacorrick, and worked there all day building stone walls on either side of the canal.
Just south of the canal of the eastern shore of Blacksod Bay is the tidal pool. An attraction for locals and visitors alike, it was built in the mid-1980s for greater access to the waters of the bay.
We live on the sea all the time, but when the sea goes out, when the tide goes out, it's very shallow and maybe rocky and seaweedy. So a tidal pool seemed like a great idea to be able to use our main resource, the sea, in a safe way then as well, because oftentimes you'd have winds and rain and that, and it wouldn't be safe to go into the open ocean.
That resource has been put to good use over the years by the Belmullet Swim Club.
Probably thousands of Erris children have gone through their hands learning to swim, right from the beginners all the way through the water safety and onto lifeguarding.
And while such attractions draw the tourists' eyes, according to Belmullet's own, it's the people of the region that stand out.
Belmullet is second to none as regards friendliness, kindness, honour and pride.
The people around here are fantastic.
People really come together and help each other out if there's anybody in need. A lot of people come back during the summertime. Some people have holiday homes or have refurbished family houses, and people have a strong connection. There's a huge diaspora from the area, so those people are always connected.
Long before Belmullet existed, however, the land it sits on was very different.
2/3 of the area is blanket bog.
The land was poor here, it was rocky, it was boggy.
I remember when I was a kid kind of thinking, oh, the bog, I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. Now I absolutely love it, and all the different flora and fauna and bird life and everything.
South of Belmullet, nestled on a narrow coastal road along the Mullet Peninsula, sits the Turas Shear Language and Culture Research and Genealogy Centre, where Pap and Kate Murphy spend their days deep into research of the surrounding area.
Turas Shear means journey back, which is exactly what we do here. We go back in time.
Their centre is open there for anybody at any hour of the day or night. They're there from early in the morning till 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Well, I spend all my time researching ancestors.
The amount of research that she's done on genealogy and helping families trace their roots and that, she's amazing.
Pap does the local history.
Pat and Kate Murphy are just fantastic. They do Trojan work. I mean, the wealth of knowledge that Pap has is just phenomenal.
Well, as a child, I remember in my grandfather's house with his 2 brothers and my 2 uncles. They all lived in the one house. And I was always in there after school until late at night. Many ramblers came in, and all those older people talked about the past.
So if somebody comes in looking for their information on their ancestors that are local, they just have to say a name, and Pap, more times than not, is able to help me with dates and who they married.
As a child born to the area, Pap saw the inevitable coming as he grew up witness to the decline in use of the native language.
And I started recording people's voices in 1968 when I got my first tape recorder. But it was all in old Gaelic and Irish. It was totally immersed in the local dialect and the native Irish language.
The old traditions, the old stories, a lot of it passed down orally through from generation to generation. The stories from the islands, the stories of the sea, the stories of communities come together, all the songs and poetry from the area that people don't know about, but are starting to learn because of all the work that Pap and Catherine do.
Well, I enjoy every minute of it, the minute I get into the office every morning to the time I retire at night, and so does Pap. It's just the love of it.
We have a few thousand of individual recordings. That would be talk, stories, folklore, history, music, songs. That is the whole barony of Erris.
The history of the barony of Erris can be seen as the road curves south past Tarman Bay from Tir's Sheer, then ambles around a Green Coast award-winning beach that stretches towards Black Sod Lighthouse. The lighthouse overlooks Black Sod Bay, north of where it meets the Atlantic. Famous for issuing the weather report that delayed the D-Day invasion 24 hours, thus saving the Allied troops from facing a severe cold front and gale force winds during their landing, the lighthouse itself was uniquely constructed in 1865 of pink granite mined from the land on which it sits. Its beacon flashes through glass over 150 years old.
We have 4 lighthouses in the area.
You have one at Black Rock out on the Atlantic here, 12 miles out. You have one at Ballyglass, just below Belmullet, and then you have the other one at Eagle Island.
This quartet surrounding the peninsula is portrayed by a monument in the centre of town.
It's like a pillar with 4 sections in it that you can look through, but it's there and they're on the 4 compass points, the north, south, east and west.
As the road curls around the southern tip of the peninsula, Falmore Cemetery rests against the coast, across from the brooding behemoth of Slieve Moor on Achill Island. The north face of the beast, seemingly draped in eternal shadow, appears to be only a short paddle away from where Black Sod Bay meets the unrelenting North Atlantic in earnest. A little further east sits the holy well of St. Dervla, whose astonishing story lives on 15 centuries later, thanks in large part to the miraculous spring that still flows.
It's believed that she came from the Midlands of Ireland, 6th century.
Apparently hounded along the road by an unknown suitor, she finally stopped to inquire as to his interest in her.
And he said, it's your eyes, he said, that's attracting me. And with that, she poked her fingers, it said, according to history, into her eyes, and her 2 eyes fell out on the ground, and she said, now go and take them, and leave me in peace.
The noble suitor, unsurprisingly, no longer wanted anything to do with those eyes, and so he rode off. But where her eyes fell to the ground, fresh water sprang forth to form a well that is said to cure blindness and mental illness.
But it's been there to her memory ever since.
From a point just northeast of the well, the vacant face of Glosh Tower, a 220-year-old decrepit lookout, stares blankly over land and sea. It was one of a series of watchtowers built by the English along the west coast in the early 1800s to combat piracy and to keep a lookout for invading French fleets.
It was a smuggler's haven along the west coast of County Mayo, particularly County Mayo, because when you're travelling around, you will find so many inlets, little sheltered inlets. Now you're going back to the 13, 14 and 1500s when they started appearing.
Those coves, etched out by time and tide along the west coast of Ireland, yielded hiding places for pirates, whose smaller, more agile craft eluded the larger seagoing ships of the English fleet.
It was so easy to get away from the cutters, those big fast sailboats on the ocean at the time. They were so fast with their smaller boats, and they knew all the pockets and inlets and little safe havens.
In Ishglora, Another of the islands easily visible from the eastern coast of the Mullet Peninsula is well known in Irish folklore. It is the final resting place of the children of Lear, a folk tale about the 900-year odyssey of King Lear's children.
The Children of Lear will be a well-known legend in Ireland, kind of one of those stories that's passed down for millennia, really. Lear was married to Eve. They had 4 children, Acon, Fiacra and Fanula. She died and then he remarried. He wanted to have a mother for the children.
But the children were cursed by their stepmother, Aoife, who out of jealousy for the king's attentions transformed them into swans.
And they were to stay as swans for 900 years, but left them with their human voices. At the end of the 900 years, they would hear the Christian bells tolling them and they regained their human form and turned to dust, and that's where they remained.
Inishglora was also the original location of Cross Abbey, which now sits on the coast just west of the island. Moved around 1200 AD to the Mullet Peninsula for fear of Viking raids, the abbey was home to St. Brendan the Navigator.
And he was the one that was supposed to have discovered America. After the monks left Inishglora, some of them decided to come out to where Cross Abbey is now, and that was established there, maybe in the 8th, 9th century. But it was actually up and running till maybe the 12th century.
The peninsula's rugged ascending beauty can be seen when heading north up the coast towards Dunamo, an ancient ring fort that sits atop jagged escarpments at the edge of a crumbling world on the northwest corner of the Mullet Peninsula. Waves crash restlessly into the short cliff face, tearing away stone that keeps the ring fort aloft. The sea eats into the earthen buttress, creating a blowhole that plunges from inside the ring fort, echoes of invading waves rising from below.
The cliffs they're disappearing, but they're spectacular.
At the northernmost point of the Mullet Peninsula are the soaring heights of Erris Head. At its approach, a rusted boat winch sits above slags of rock sliding down to a narrow cove long ago fallen into disuse. Stone steps descend to nowhere from cliff heights haunted only by the ghosts of memories, while gulls wheel above the ruddy coast. 4 massive stone feet are propped in succession over the sea, as if holding the headland in place. The sea then transitions west into Broadhaven Bay, eventually curling around Deville Point and past Ballyglass Lighthouse, back towards Belmullet. A quick right to the north of the bay leads to a golf course, where grassy hillocks and rolling dunes ripple in the North Atlantic wind as the sky stretches away to meet the sea. It was built by hand in the 1980s from the natural contours of the northern peninsula, heavy machinery never having set tread nor track on it.
It's called Cairn Golf Course. It's known on the international spectrum now. It's very beneficial to the area as a whole. It brings so many visitors.
Winding back south and around the point of Blacksod Bay, across the bridge and through Belmullet, more spectacular sights await on the Atlantic Ocean in North Mayo. The Carrowtide Loop walks skirt the North Atlantic and provide stunning views of bays and cliffs from far above the sea. A few kilometres out to sea, the stags of Broadhaven rise out of the deep like the spine of a breaching sea monster. Further northeast along the coastline of North Mayo, we're bringing you to Soaring Dunbrishta, or Broken Fort in Old Irish, a spectacular sea stack off the point of Downpatrick Head. As the road winds back between the bays on Lower Barrack Street in Belmullet, the sun may be setting on the marvels of nature etched out on the coasts of County Mayo, but the evening's crack is just beginning at McDonnell's bar as Padraig reaches for his guitar.
Music is real to me, music is spiritual to me. We have music in summertime 5 nights a week, Wednesday to Sunday night, and then we have music all year round from a Thursday to a Sunday.
Yeah, so they've expanded a little bit out the back, so there's kind of a beer garden section, and Saturday night just gone, They had a music session at the back. There was a 7-piece male a cappella group from Westport. It was magic, absolute magic.
So after experiencing the raw beauty in and along the coast of North Mayo, exploring the striking ruins and historical remains throughout the barony of Erris and visits to its lively villages, dip a toe into the lobster pot. You'll be welcomed into McDonald's bar with music, conversation, great crack and a proper pint.
And if you're not Irish, we'll open you with arms and say, well, there's some bit Irish in you somewhere. That's the way it goes, like. And I must say, I can thank my staff. I can't run without staff. I've experienced staff here, but you treat them the way you'd like your own treated. It's the same as that. And do your best. My wife, Marion, has put up with a lot now in the last 25 years, listening to me and my children. They've been very supportive to me. People say, oh, you have a great pub. The pub is only better than the people that support you. And that's the way life is.